And now I am presenting to you all and introducing to quite a few of you the amazing Keith.
I'm going to teach you how to smile someday. That's what I'd always say to my husband after every couple selfie, after every time a stranger handed my phone back to us as we posed in front of some landscape or landmark. I'd swipe through the new batch of photos, beginning to end, to beginning and back to the end, searching for just one that looked like he was actually enjoying himself, actually happy. A genuine smile, or as close to one as he could get. It was the same conversation I'd grown up listening to all the time. My mother was always shaking her head at my dad whenever our stack of family vacation photos came back from being developed at Walmart. You see, my dad, he didn't know how to smile in photos either. But he, at least, knew how to smile at other times. Like the proud grin he'd give when I answered one of his hard math questions, or the smirk he'd start to make halfway through telling a really stupid joke, or even the straight lip smile he'd force onto his face when things weren't going well, but he didn't want anyone else to know, when he didn't want anyone else to worry. Because he was a strong man. He was always our rock. I was raised by a father who would give up everything to help someone else, and he did, constantly. He'd sacrifice his own needs not just for his kids or wife, but for his friends and even strangers. Watching him, I learned that a man's strength is defined by his willingness to give and never take. His ability to carry the burdens of someone else and never complain, never wince, at least not when they're looking. Take 4 ibuprofens and tell the world that you're fine, that you're happy to help. My husband, though, he was rarely happy, and it showed, not just in the photos, but so much of the time. When we first met, almost a decade ago, his small, sad puppy demeanor was actually one of the things that drew me to him. Like my father, I'm a problem solver, and I took it upon myself to try to cheer this cute guy up. I guess I made sort of a project out of it. I love projects. I would try to find out everything in his life that was bothering him, and then fix it myself. You're lonely. Well, come meet my friends. I have so many to share. Or you're cold. Hey, babe, let me warm you up. I'll hold you. There's a spider on the wall. Oh, stand back. I'll get it. I'll save you. But I could never keep this boy happy for long. I realized early on that even the smallest inconveniences could set him off. If he didn't get his way, he'd throw things or break things like a child. So to avoid his fits, I began to spoil him like one, even though we were the same age. Over our 9 years together, I had a front row seat to watch as this sad boy grew into an angry man. His childish tantrums evolved into a man's temper. It started with insults, so many insults. I was too stupid, I was too ugly, I was too working class. Then he started to poke my stomach as he called me fat. Over the time, the pokes became smacks, and the smacks became jabs, and none of them truly hurt me. I was so much stronger than him, and I knew that I could physically stop him at any moment. Yet, pretty soon, I'd start to flinch at just the sight of him moving his hand toward my belly or toward my throat. Eventually, about 6 years into our relationship, I even got used to the occasional storm of his soft fists raining down on my body. Whenever I talked too much, whenever I said something stupid, one after another, the blows would come, until his breathing started to slow, until he finally pulled himself back, because I never pushed him back. I hardly even held up my hands to shield myself. I'd usually just wait until the hits were replaced with soft pats, then him rubbing me, then long, deep, loving hugs. Hun, he'd say, "You have to stop antagonizing me, okay? You know I don't want to hit you. Here, hun, let's go get you some ice cream." And that's how it always ended. Every slap sealed with a kiss. Well, not always. Sometimes it was worse. At the start of the pandemic, when we fled New York and we went to stay with my family in Illinois, I became terrified that they'd find out. I tried so hard to keep him happy, really hard. But when he got mad, I knew I had to hide the sounds of him pounding his fists on the table. I would step closer so that he'd hit me instead. It was my hope that at least the sound of the punches would be muffled by my body, and no one would hear, no one would know. I really would do anything to keep our secret. I didn't want my mother to worry about me. I didn't want anyone to worry about me. I was fine. Fine. I'm fine. And how could I explain it anyway? How do you tell someone that you're being hurt by someone who is smaller than you? I could have stopped him. I could have grabbed his wrists. I could have pushed him away. But I didn't. I didn't want to hurt him. So I never hit him back. Never. Because I loved him. I loved him with a man's love, the love of a guardian, the love of a protector, the love of a rock. And rocks don't cry when you hit them. They absorb your blows. They keep their composure. A rock would never hit you back. But sometimes, after enough whacks, they do begin to crack. This past summer, he hit my limit. I wasn't strong enough to keep holding it all together. So a few months ago, I packed a suitcase and I found a new apartment. I got a therapist and I made some new friends. And eventually, I came to believe that I too am worth protecting. That's why this morning, I submitted the paperwork to file for a divorce. And I want to be clear about something. There are no villains in this story, only men who lived up to what they thought were society's expectations of what it means to be a man. I look forward to living in my new divorced life, but I don't think it'll solve all of my problems. I still struggle with admitting when I need help, and I probably always will. But it's a first step on a long road toward liberation. Not from him, but from the burden of swallowing my pain, from the weight of being a rock. And I finally come to accept the truth. I could never teach that sad boy how to smile. Thank you.